whenever ready, we'll.
There we go.
We also might have some sound effects.
Uh-oh.
You weren't supposed to tell
Boing.
Don't tell
Oh
me.
shit! I shouldn't have told you.
Man, you ruined the
Boom,
surprise.
boom, boom.
That was good. It's like you
Oh,
two do
man.
improv together. Or
We
something.
might get sued by
For what?
ASCAP for doing that so well.
Yeah, it's so convincing.
Do you think enough people are listening to this podcast?
The
They're gonna pick up
algorithm
on
is
that?
all around us.
So for this first part, you're not here, and then
Okay.
when we he'll read your bio. Well, he'll read the bio that he wrote for you.
I did
'cause
give.
you
I did
not
read. I
write
wrote
the
it with
bio.
him a little bit.
I was there.
He was there when it happened.
Yeah, but who wrote it? Who typed it?
I did.
Typed it.
I'm his typist.
Exactly.
I don't understand what the problem is.
You're saying this like it's what not supposed to be.
Well, okay, we're ruining the illusion. You're supposed to not be here yet. And then when he reads your bio,
I kind of feel like maybe we keep all of this.
So you want me to leave
Peek
and
behind
then
the curtain.
re-enter?
no, don't actually go out the door.
Hey, everybody,
Just
Casey's here.
I'm so confused.
I'm just saying that the first part of the episode is just, it's going to be like, we're just talking like as if we've like magically let you in at some point, but you can still stay in your seat.
Oh, but I really like an entrance.
Well, then
Dennis Quaid is here.
Oh my God. Well, then here, wait, maybe there's some fun sound effect I can press on here that when you come in.
Yeah, you got like a door slam?
Wait, okay, wait.
Foley.
I might have one. I might have a good one.
I love that. Like in the drama
All right.
hour. God, love that
Yeah.
shit.
Okay.
Read a drum.
I got one. But you gotta wait. You gotta wait till
Okay, yeah.
just-
I know what's going on.
Okay. Well, hello everyone. I'm Michael Osinski,
And I am Tyler Esselman.
and you are listening to This One Goes to 11.
You are indeed. This one goes to 11, our podcast where we invite our friends, family, members of our community, people we don't really know, people we kind of know, people we want to get to know better. We invite them into our virtual, or sometimes real in this case, living room, to make their case for what they believe is a perfect album.
So perfect, in fact, that 10 out of 10 just isn't good enough.
Nope, not good enough. They're good enough. They are enough.
Oh, yeah,
The
they
albums, though, 10 for that. It's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Tyler, we got our second live and in-person episode here.
It's a marathon night, but I'm feeling good. I don't even need coffee right now. Like I feel like
That's saying something.
the only thing I need is a cocktail, but that's okay. We're not going to do that. We're in a library, so
The school library, no less.
we're not. Yeah, we won't do that.
Yeah.
Super excited about this one. Somebody that he was always on the list, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was always on the list from the very beginning, and we know that he is going to be a fan favorite. Who are we talking to?
We're talking to Casey Morris.
Casey Morris. He's really something else, this guy. Whether he's treading the boards of a theater, holding court with his guitar at the head of his band Marauderville, or cooking up some improvised silliness with yours truly as part of McGillicuddy, he brings an indelible wit and an irrepressible passion to any venture he undertakes. He's an actor, musician, and writer, as well as a top-tier drinking buddy. You might have seen him on stage at such theaters as Northlight Theater, Raven Theater, The Gift Theater, First Floor Theater, and Victory Gardens in Chicago, among others, of course, and North Carolina Stage Company in Asheville, North Carolina. He's been featured recently on TV shows like FX's Snowfall, Nathan Fielder's The Rehearsal, and ABC's The Company You Keep. I mentioned Marauderville earlier. His country Americana outfit currently gigging around Los Angeles. They're great. You should go stream them or catch them live if you can. He's one of my very favorite artists working today in any medium, and I'm truly grateful to be his friend. He is Casey Morris. And you know what? He's here.
You guys suck.
You wanted an entrance.
He's here.
What's
up, buddy?
That was a banana slip.
A
Well,
musical.
here, wait. How about this instead?
It's just too on the nose.
You saying I'm vain or like?
No, I mean
saying,
you are.
I'm
but
saying
you-
we have toys in front of us, and we're going to play with them.
All right,
boys and their toys. How you feeling, boy?
great. I mean, I'm excited to be here. I'm honored. Honestly, I can't wait to. I just hope I don't have like an aneurysm after getting excited about talking about an album. You know,
I don't think you will.
just like something pops and I just hit the floor. You know.
No. It hasn't happened yet.
We got our phones. We can call 911 if we have to.
Yeah, but aneurysms are like, that's it. It's lights out. I mean, when you hear about them, it's always it's like a bad one.
You do not want to have an aneurysm. I feel like that's an objective truth.
I mean, I think maybe I'm revealing that I think about that way more than I probably should.
You want to keep talking about it?
No, I don't.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us what album you've brought before This One Goes to 11 tribunal today?
Right. So, I gave you my 4, and you picked the one I did not think you were going to pick. Yeah, Sibylle. The artist name is Sibylle Baier. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I've always pronounced it Sibylle Baier. She is German, so I don't know if it's pronounced a different way. But Sibylle Baier is how I've always heard people say it.
Yeah.
And the album is The Color Green.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Color with a U in it, by the way.
Yeah,
it
European
is.
spelling.
Yeah, super excited about this one. It's a beautiful album, and I think it's a very Casey Morris kind of album. So
It's so funny you say that.
I cannot wait to hear you talk about it. But for those of you who have never heard of Sibylle or this album, we do have a little teaser for you, a little bit of info to get you up to speed in everybody's favorite segment, which is the Beginner's Guide to The Color Green by Sibylle Baier in 60 seconds. And Michael's doing this one. Michael, do you feel ready?
Yes, yes.
There's not a ton of information out there about her, is there?
No, this one was an easy one because for those of you who don't want a little peek behind the curtain, like it's roughly 13 lines in a Google Doc equals a minute.
About 150 words, something like that?
Something like that, yeah. And I was able to fill that pretty quickly and without much editing because
That's a tweet.
There's not
hardly, yeah.
There's not a lot out about her.
That's a crime.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we can be part of the Sibylle Renaissance. I was going to try to come up with some clever word for that, but hopefully we can be part of her Renaissance.
Yeah.
Michael, I got 60 seconds on the clock.
Okay.
You're going to begin in 3, 2, 1.
Max du Leonard Cohn, wie wär es mit Nick Drake? Willkommen beim Podcast. Heute sprechen wir über Sibylle Baier, a German folk singer and actress whose career started in the 1970s when she worked with famed filmmaker Wim Wenders, though she quickly abandoned these plans and moved to the U.S. to start a family. Before that, she made a handful of reel-to-reel recordings, which would have never seen the light of day if her son Robbie hadn't discovered them and compiled them into a mix CD as a gift to family members in the early 2000s. A gift which found its way into the hands of Dinosaur Jr.'s Jay Mascis, who passed it on to a record label, and then roughly 30 years after the songs had been recorded, they were released as the album Color Green in 2006. Simple in their vocals and instrumentation, the songs sound like intimate personal confessions, like German Lieder for the 20th century. Since the album's release, Baier has written more music, including one song written for Wim Wenders' 2008 film Palermo Shooting. To learn more about her, you can check out the website lovingly put together by her son, who claims that the web makes his mom dizzy.
Yes.
All right.
So, Casey, this podcast is about winning. This podcast is about the object of it is to win and to make the best case.
Oh.
But you need to start off by grading Michael on the job that he did, giving a little overview of Sibylle and this album. So on any scale, using whatever terms you'd like, colors, feelings, numbers, grades,
Michelin stars.
How did he do? Well, what kind of grade would you give him?
Well, it's just hard because I don't think that it's your fault. Her bio is as truncated as it was. There's just not a lot out there. However, I did feel slightly attacked by the first part by the nature of the German language.
I was just speaking German. Do you have a problem with that?
There's just something about the consonants and the spit that flies out of your mouth.
It's guttural. It's guttural.
Yeah, there's just, I don't know. But anyway, no disrespect to my German side. Okay, if out of 10,
you can if you want to, or out of whatever.
I would say 7.8.
7.8 out of 10.
All right.
Because you were given the same amount of knowledge most people are going to get when they're buying the record for the first time, or the sticker sometimes that comes on the vinyl is basically just that, like a little blurb. So,
which means it's professionally done, Michael.
Yeah.
Well done, you. That's
Thanks.
what I say.
Yeah.
Danke.
Yeah, bitte.
Before we dive into how you feel about this album and you make your case for it and whatnot, we're curious to know what is and or has been your relationship with music, just on like a big picture.
In general?
Yes,
Writ
in general.
large.
We grew up with music in the house. I think we were really spoiled with, my dad was 27 when he had me, and I'm the oldest. My mom was 23. My dad was 27. So they're kind of young, and I was born in 87. And they just had a great, I guess CDs were the new thing. And they had a good, from what I remember, we had a lot of CDs, and most of our home videos are of us dancing.
Oh,
yeah. To come to think of it, I mean,
the Mo Bros.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, we definitely listened to a lot of music growing up, and it was Paul Simon's Graceland.
Sick.
That had just come out, relatively around that time. So that's the first piece of music I remember hearing is Paul Simon's Graceland. Period. The Gypsy Kings. There's a lot of the Gypsy Kings. My dad especially loved the Gypsy Kings. And my mom's side of the family is actually from Trinidad and Tobago. She emigrated in 79. And so I wouldn't say that we played a lot of calypso at home, but when we would go to my grandparents for Christmas, that's all you hear is calypso. And in the latter years, it became a tradition to play parang
nice.
while we're cooking and stuff. So there's a lot of music, and it feels kind of random to talk about because it's not like we only listen to one type. It was very, and I was born in Cincinnati, so country music, radio country was all I remember hearing on the radio.
Who do you remember hearing?
Vince Gill. Mm-hmm. And we had like Garth Brooks' first 2 albums. And I remember I knew how to work the CD player like when I was really young. So I was always playing CDs. And I wore the Garth Brooks out, which is kind of embarrassing to say now, but no, I loved, and what I loved especially was country music videos. I thought that shit was so funny. And just like,
early 90s ones were of a particular flavor too.
The Alan Jackson, like the Chattahoochee, like the wakeboard, like, oh my gosh, dude.
Alan Jackson fucks. That guy really fucks.
He's got a bit of a cultural resurgence actually, in meme land. But country music was huge, and I genuinely you couldn't get me to change the channel from VH1. I was glued to VH1. Mm-hmm. It was actually something my parents were like, that was how when I was really becoming a problem, like around 3 or 4, and just causing trouble. I remember the day my mom was like, okay, Casey, just you're gonna sit here, I'm gonna put on VH1. And I think Michael Jackson was still king of pop. It was huge.
Yeah.
And that we were big Michael Jackson people, so big Michael Jackson people. So anything, I got sucked into the world of music videos in the early 90s. Of course, I remember I started getting interested in rap in the early, this is probably 93. Yeah,
you were young,
3 and 4, and that was a no-no in the household. Mainly because of the music videos, because and so I remember flashes of Tupac, and I remember flashes of Busta Rhymes and stuff, and I remember just being and then it became taboo, so I wanted to watch it more.
Of course.
But the first album I ever bought on my own was MC Hammer's Too Legit, because they didn't have You Can't Touch This in the album, and because that you couldn't find that. It was like everyone had that album. So.
That's really funny that.
And what a lame album Too Legit was.
That's
oh my God, what a downer.
But that's the second time now in 2 episodes that MC Hammer has found his way onto the podcast.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to give
From
you
what I remember,
6,000 points for the formidable foursome of Alan Jackson, Garth Brooks, Tupac, and MC Hammer.
What would the name of that supergroup be?
Oh gosh.
I'm going to come up with a really good one by the end of this. I don't know what it is yet, but that's a really good one.
A great cultural question, riddle there.
It's a question we all know the answer to.
That would be a great road trip game, actually, is if you give to people, or you give a person a combination of musicians.
The thing is, nowadays, so much country is trying to be rap.
Well, I thought you were going to say it's supergroups now.
And supergroups, yeah.
No, I mean, I can't, I personally can't stand it, but Walker Hayes. Mm-hmm. My girlfriend and I listened to the Applebee's song. because it's so cringe that I think I get like dopamine when I listen to it.
Also, too, I feel like Morgan Wallen, he was disgraced.
He's wild, yeah.
Yeah, but also like listening, I'd never really listened to any of his music, but they played a couple of his songs, and they were talking about how it seems like he is making an attempt to sort of merge country with hip hop and R&B.
Well, that's been going on for actually a while, and honestly, there are a lot of undersung, pun intended, BIPOC country artists that are not
100%, yeah.
not getting. And there was one, I would say I want to say it was like mid-aughts, a black country artist who was doing primarily his front man doing hip hop, but his backing band was a country band, and his garb was all Western. Yeah. And I don't want to say it was something Ross, and I don't want to say Rick Ross, but it was something along the lines of that. And he was, from what I remember, just like trashed on both sides. Yeah. And I just remember being like,
ain't that just the way?
I knew that it was like, I don't like the music. I don't care for the music. It just obviously like it was. I didn't like it, but it just there was something wrong about it. It was just awful, you know. But
it ain't just Hootie, people.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about. I mean, you and your brothers are. I mean, you're wonderful musicians, and so how did that part start? When did you start playing music? When do you remember picking up an instrument and fooling around?
Yeah, I'm the oldest. My middle brother is Kelly. Youngest brother is Patrick. But Kelly was the first to pick up an instrument. And the story that I remember, we were moving from Covington, Kentucky, which is basically Cincinnati. It's right across the river, and then we were moving to South Carolina. I was about 8, and Kelly came across in like a Toys R Us a like plastic child's guitar that was like, it had Elvis on it. It was called the Elvis guitar, and it had like a dancing Elvis, and it was like, you'd be like Elvis, whatever. And he wanted it really bad, and my mom bought the guitar for him, you know, and he started playing it, and I remember like there was nothing left in the house. We had all been packed up, and I think we had shipped all of our stuff to South Carolina, and so we were like sleeping on like a mattress on the floor, all of us. And Kelly was like screaming and crying, and my mom was like, Kelly, what is it? And he's like, the guitar doesn't work. And she's like, what do you mean? And he's like, it doesn't work. It doesn't make the right sound. And she was like, Kelly, it's because it's not real. She was like, you need to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And like,
sorry, buddy.
Yeah. And I remember him crying, you know, because we didn't have our toys. We didn't have anything. Like, it had all been shipped. There was nothing left. That was what he had. And like that moment forward, like his entire life became the guitar.
Hell yeah.
And you know, he's, from what I've always described him as, is, you know, was like a child prodigy, guitar prodigy. I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, he learned classical guitar before he was in high school. They had realized early on that he was gifted beyond most children to absorb that, and what he wanted to do was learn flamenco first, because like I said, we grew up listening to Gypsy Kings. Yeah. And pretty much every teacher they came across said that you can't learn flamenco until you have a real firm grasp on classical guitar. My mom listened to them, and he mastered you know reading music and then playing classical, and I mean he could play Segovia. You know, he's not even a teenager.
He's the real
yet.
deal.
And I remember being so jealous. My God, I couldn't be more jealous.
Really?
Because I mean, like, adults just couldn't fathom a child that young playing that well. And I always was like, I'm gonna play the bass.
I'll show you.
It's like, no, I'm not gonna play. I don't even want to play the guitar. It's like I wanted nothing more to play guitar. So I remember saving up for my first bass, and like, you know, and I did the whole like mowing lawns and saving up for a bass. And I remember getting this like Korn style, like Ibanez bass, and it's just like, thinking back, it was the ugliest damn thing. I would not be seen dead in public with that bass. But I saved up like something like $500, which was like thousands of dollars to me at that age. I actually think I did get pretty good at it. You know, it was hard for me to be patient with the lessons and stuff like that. And, but it really opened me up to a lot of music because it got me, I got into jazz pretty young.
Yeah.
And, one of the first books I remember reading, as a teen, where I was like really like, because it wasn't easy for me to like sit and finish a book. Like it was like pulling teeth for me. But Jaco Pastoris's biography I read when I was 13. And
that's ridiculous.
That's
awesome.
It was just like, I read it in like a day, like 2 days. I was just absolutely, and in his biography, they talk about every single musician that was of that time period and played in the Bay Area and everything, and that was one thing at that age as a teenager and stuff, like, any money I got, I bought albums, CDs, and I grew up in South Carolina, and all you had was Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
All you had was small. If you drove 30 minutes, you had a Best Buy. And there's a little more of a selection there. But so thankfully we started. We finally got internet, and you could shop for CDs online. And so I started buying all these albums and stuff and that.
Yeah. So it also must be noted that you're the second person tonight, the second guest of two tonight that funded the dream by mowing lawns.
Oh yeah,
yeah, good honorable trade. I did it too.
Oh yeah,
nothing like the money you make off the sweat of your brow, covered in grass. I'm going to give you 500 points for the fact that you got a corn style bass, or that you that's how you style it, and 4,500 points for Jaco Pastorius's biography being one of your favorite books growing up.
Okay, sounds like I'm winning.
You're doing all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's fast forward a little bit. Do you remember how you discovered color green?
Yeah, so this would have been in college, in undergrad, and by that point...
In Asheville,
in Asheville, North Carolina. I was going to University of North Carolina at Asheville, and I was a freshman, and I want to say this was 2007, earliest 2006, but it probably was 2007, because Color Green was released in 2006. And in Asheville, great music town, lots of great record stores. There's one, if anybody's ever been to Asheville, they know Lexington Avenue in the downtown area is kind of like, the cool street, where a lot of the stuff that's there is kind of from, that has stuck around, is still there. But there were like two record stores literally next door to each other, completely different businesses. Mm-hmm. Like that's how
they were surviving.
It was badass. I just thought it was badass.
That's heaven.
Yeah, it was heaven. And they were very different from each other too. But this record store that I walked into that day was called Static Age, and it's still there. I moved down the street a little bit, and actually, it has grown a little bit. There's a bar in there now, and you can. There's bands now. They have a stage.
Nice.
But it was just this record store, and the owner's name was Joel. Great guy to talk to. I had a record player by that point in my dorm. And I would, if I had some extra money or whatever, I would buy a record and bring it back to the dorm, and I would listen to it. And I was really into that day. And those days, I would take chances on albums. I would buy albums that I didn't know like who they were. I'd buy them because I liked the cover. And a lot of times, I was like pleasantly surprised. And sometimes like life-changing albums, like incredibly important albums. Mm-hmm. This day though, I walked in and he was playing Color Green on the stereo. And I remember walking in and hearing Sibylle's voice, and I was like, who is that? And he was like, this is Sibylle Baier. This album was, recorded in the 70s, but it was only just discovered and released and pressed to vinyl. And and it's on the shelf, like not in the bins, but like on the display shelf when they display.
Thanks, Joel.
And I picked up the one he had, and I walked right out of there. I was there for maybe like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And they were playing softly, the track softly.
What bewitched you?
It was her voice.
Yeah.
Specifically. It was her voice. I don't know. And also the timbre of the guitar, the way she played the guitar. I'm trying to remember that day in the record store. Of course, like I sat with the album longer, and I sat and listened to it, a lot, privately. And I didn't really know her story for a while. I mean, I guess the album had liner notes, and so I did read the liner notes. And then I became kind of like really kind of sucked into her story because of how unusual it was. And even to this day, it amazes me that the album exists at all.
Yeah, it's a complete free. It's one of those freak things, right?
It's so funny. I was talking on the way here. My mom called, and I told her that I was doing this, and she asked, "So what album are you doing?" And I'm doing Sibylle Baier's Color Green. She's like, "Oh, is that the album that you would play?" And, because we would go to our thing as a family. We'd go to West Virginia every summer to this ski resort off season when no one was there. In the summertime, we would stay, and that was the time that we saw a lot of bluegrass, and we saw a lot of like folk stuff there, which was super important to me. And so I always had like the perfect playlist for that drive because I think West Virginia is one of the most beautiful.
Yeah, it's underrated.
It's pretty beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
States that we have, and I gotta have my Gillian Welch and Dave Rawlings. I gotta have my Sun Kil Moon. I gotta have all
Preach, brother.
New pornographers. Yeah. And I guess I brought Sibylle. I bought the vinyl for myself, and then when my mom's birthday came around in July that year, I bought her the CD, Color Green, because I just thought, because the Sibylle story is largely surrounding the fact that she was a mother of I believe 2 kids. Yeah. Robbie has talked about it a lot, but I think she had more than one child, and I don't know. I just thought my mom would like it, and my mom actually really does she loves Alison Krauss, so I knew she liked folk music. And I totally forgot that I bought her the album, so she actually remembered that album too.
That's sweet, man.
And we were talking about it on the way here, and I was kind of like talking about because I kind of forgot the story and I needed a little refresher. But basically, Sibylle, she was an actress, and she people know that she was in Wim Wenders' Alice in the Cities, which is like kind of a lesser known movie. But she's in it, and then that's kind of I think she did one other thing, screen thing, and that was it. She kind of gave up the artist's life to raise her children.
Sure. And
as the story goes, when she would put them to bed, she would go up in her attic, and I think I've heard in other cases it was her kitchen, and she would she had a reel-to-reel, and she would stack a microphone on top of some books, and she would record these songs with like absolutely no intention of anybody listening to them. Like it was not part of it.
Purely just for the
it was
the
like
outlet.
it was like her diary.
Yeah.
I can almost hear that too, like because the songs just seem so quiet.
Yeah.
And so simple, because in some ways, if that's the story of how this album was made, they almost had to be, because she couldn't wake her kids.
She couldn't wake the kids
hide
up.
somewhere in the house and record them.
Yeah. So I thought that was just incredible. And they also I'm an actor, and I just was so curious about that aspect of her life at the time too. Like what happened, but really it was her melodies are so, I just think her melodies are so, beautiful and haunting and mysterious and
wistful,
unpredictable.
Yeah.
Really unpredictable. I would imagine that's coming from somebody who is, I don't know, I'm trying to be really careful about what I say, but relatively raw, because they're not really, she clearly was talented and knew what she was doing, because if you listen to the songs, I mean, you can't wing those songs.
No way.
Yeah, no.
You can't wing those songs.
She sounds trained, not overly trained.
No, and there was she either was completely raw in her writing, both the instrumentation and also her lyrical writing, or she was trained and she knew how to break the rules, because there's a lot of things that are just unorthodox about what she's doing, I feel like.
Yeah.
And her guitar playing is I was playing guitar back then. I'm much better now, not tooting my own horn. I was not good then. But I still don't know if I could figure out how she's playing some of these songs. She has awesome bass lines, and she harmonizes with this. And she actually has a very low register for a female singer. She's singing a lot lower than I think That probably is because of the kids are asleep too.
I imagine so.
Yeah, and that to me is what that gets me. Like,
that's the money right there.
Yeah, because it's just she's telling a story with her voice that I don't know how else to say it. I mean, she's telling a story with her voice, and with the quality of her voice, the tone of her voice. But the other thing is the recording device that she's using is like this. This is 1970. It's a little reel to reel.
Basic.
Yeah, it's not a cassette.
Yeah.
Tech. It's reel to. That's just as much of an instrument as her guitar.
Mm.
I like that. Yeah, it is the warmth and stuff of the recording itself is the machine.
Yeah,
and I think her son eventually mixed it, and I'm assuming he added the
probably right
reverb that's on there, her voice and stuff. But all of that's all of this the essence of that album was all done by her.
Yeah. I got some points on the board here for you, and we're going to go back a little bit. 999 points for shouting out Static Age in Asheville, North Carolina. Going to make sure...
That was 1 point off, huh?
Just a little bit, yeah. You could have given us that extra point. Well, we'll see how it goes. I'm going to try to make it there next time I'm in Asheville. 800 points for gifting the CD to your mother. Beautiful thing to share. 8,200 points for quiet songs so as not to wake the kids. And then 737 points for the reel-to-reel being an instrument unto itself. Mm-hmm. So, strong case so far.
I think it's time for our listeners to hear something from the album. What have you chosen as your standout track?
I chose the track Softly.
Well, why don't we let our listeners listen, and then we'll talk about it on the other side.
That's the end of part 1. If you access this episode via our YouTube playlist, you're about to hear our guest's standout track. If you'd like to jump ahead to part 2, you'll find a link in the description of this episode.